Welcome to the space between. Planet Earth is in a massive initiation of the divine feminine energies. There are energetic templates and codes that are now activated to usher in this new age. This initiation will transform all that is crumbled into a new world, one that is for the collective good and not just a few. Celeste Gluz is an energy and sound practitioner, author, podcaster, and founder of the School of Feminine Initiatory Arts, a curriculum that helps anchor crystalline consciousness that helps usher in the new earth. She is also the founder of the Lemuria Rose Temple, a nonprofit dedicated to living in alignment with your inner compass. Join us as we connect through conversation. Welcome to the space between. My name is Alyson Rixner, and I'm so excited to have you all for another episode of the Space Between podcast. And I woke up today giddy and excited because I get to talk to Celeste Gluz. Welcome to the Space Between.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm so happy that you're here.
I'm ecstatic. Yeah, I'm so excited for our conversation.
Yeah, this is something that selfishly I've been looking forward to, and we're going to share it with you guys.
That's fair.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about initiation, and that's an interesting word. And we recently met, and we'll get into all of that. But why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, I will relate it to our conversation in terms of me. So,
Great.
yeah, I've been on the path of initiation with the feminine. This path opened up for me actually upon meeting my husband. So I feel like it was our souls reuniting and coming together to walk this path together. I always say, like, I literally could not have done it without him. I don't think we could do it without each other, because it's been initiatory, and initiation it's death and rebirth consistently over and over and over again. And so my skills awakened upon meeting each other. Like, things started to happen that were very multidimensional, that were not explainable, that just shook my body and my entire life to ashes. And it's been a process of integration, of picking up the pieces and understanding not only what the hell happened, but why did it happen? Why do I have these connections? But beyond that, for me, it's been, how can I use this in service? How can I use this in this world for the space in between that we're in right now? So for me, it's been over a decade of not only understanding why it happened, but also like, now let's get to work and let's use it for good. And like we were talking about earlier, it's like life was orchestrated to come to this time, So that's been my path. I've been initiating with the feminine that I have learned. It's a very ancient initiatory path that we'll talk about from many lineages, from the mystery schools, that I think if you're called to it, you're called to it. And I think a lot of hearts are ready now to initiate in that wisdom.
That's so beautiful. And I love how just right out of the gate, you mentioned your husband and how, and by the way, for the audience, when we talk about the feminine and the masculine, try to take your sort of secular collective vision of gender out of it, because everything is energy.
Yes.
And there are different lineages and energies that exist on this planet and beyond.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what we're talking about today. It's, if you could think of it more as energy versus gender, right? So when you talk, obviously, when you're speaking about you and your husband and the path, which, by the way, of course, like, I didn't know that. I'm like, oh my God, that is so perfect. Of course they came together and this was awakened in probably both of you.
Yes, he's had his own path. It's very, very different. I always say, like, my path has been very integrating cosmic consciousness and working with the star lineages and the multidimensional. And his has been, of course, awakening and opening up. Yeah, but also staying very rooted and grounded.
Of course.
He's a Brooklyn guy, and that's, I love that. It keeps me rooted.
I love that. Yeah. And my husband and I have done some podcasts together too, and we are definitely walking a similar path of opening for each other and finding pieces. And thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
And I think it's important just to mention that we each have a path. We each have a role in the work that we're doing. I think that's what we'll talk about today is initiation is this.
Yeah.
It's very complex.
The
And
ushering in of God knows what's on the other side of the initiation. But it's such a beautiful thing.
it is.
That's amazing.
It is. It's why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, in sort of the mode of the space between, I think so many more people are kind of waking up to their initiation and what that means for them. Because wild times we're recording this in early April of 2025, and things are popping and people are sort of being guided to find their path and their journey. And when I met you, it was amazing I met you at a sound bath, and you do a lot of healing and a lot of work, which we'll talk about. But I just remember walking into that room. I had heard of the Lemuria Rose lineage. I follow Rebecca Campbell, who does a lot of work with that lineage. I don't feel called to it. I'm sure in some way many of us are connected to it, not the way you are. But I kind of didn't know what to expect. And when I walked in that room, my God, there was just this amazingly soft, yet focused, yet clear energy that I tapped into immediately. I was like, oh, there's something different here.
Mm.
And you embody that. And that's so, thank you for serving and bringing that. Because not everybody does, and that's not everybody's path. So I just wanted to say thank you. I took my mom to healing work with you, and we had one of those days that will probably go down as one of the most special days we've ever spent together, and you were part of that. So I want to thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So why don't we talk about, you've used the word lineage. Let's start there. So what is a lineage? You mentioned Magdalene lineage. Tell us a little bit about, what that is.
I love that you're starting here, and I'll tell you why. A lot of the front part of my spiritual journey, when I say that, it's like awakening and activating multidimensional skills and a lot of the stuff that comes in the first few years, I didn't have a lineage. And what we see from our history is that we need lineages to hold us. So we live in a dualistic world. Let's just lay out clarity.
Yep.
So everything has two sides. So of course we're in an age where it's no more gurus, there's no more teachers, like you are your teacher. That is understood. And simultaneously, what has genuinely given me a grounded and rooted and held understanding of what I'm here to do is being held by a lineage. So I actually don't believe that we can do this process alone. Yes. Of course, having my husband by my side has been huge, but even on the spiritual end, if you have a certain spiritual mission or spiritual work, to have a lineage that holds you is huge. So I spent a lot of time in Hawaii. I lived there, and I had the blessing to work closely with wisdom keepers there. And what we always hear, just from all wisdom traditions all over the world, they always work with their lineages and communities. They never come out and say,
right,
I've done this alone.
Right.
It's just,
it's always rooted. You use the word rooted, and that's exactly what this is.
Yeah. And it's your ancestry, whether it's a physical ancestry. For me, it's a very soul ancestry. And I think a lot of us are awakening to the lineage that's here to help us integrate the quantum consciousness that we're here to embody. We can't do it alone because it is so interdimensional that you need a lineage to hold you in that structure. We need a nucleus. And I feel like a lot of times the spiritual path will shoot you in 100 directions. And we all know where that takes us.
Some of you are there now.
Yeah, see, you feel disembodied and you feel like, what's going on? And where's this leading me to? And when the lineages come in, and when the lineage, I mean like a school or it's like being held in a container until you've build the body of light, you can call it, or the structural integrity within your spiritual body to hold yourself upright. And that's a process that I wish somebody would have told me that in the beginning. Like, hey, listen,
that wasn't my path here.
like
I was flying around for a better part of a decade.
yeah, and you have to build. You have to build that nucleus within you. You have to build a structure that can then hold what's then coming. So the lineage to me, reclaiming a very specific lineage that came to me while living in Hawaii, has been the backbone of all the work that I do now.
And that lineage is?
The Lemurian rose lineage, and that anchored and came into my essence, I guess you could say, while living in Hawaii and connecting to the land and connecting to my soul connections to Hawaii.
Yeah. And the ancient wisdom and energies that exist in a lineage, right? So when you think about ancestors, the easiest way to explain it is, everyone has ancestors, right? But I feel as though in my path and my purpose, I have many physical and spiritual ancestors that support me. Now that I've come to where I'm at currently, it's almost funny to me. Like, it almost becomes like a little bit of a joke when I just feel them all cheering me on all the time. And I'm like, oh my God, just all this energy. Because we are so loved and supported from things that we can't connect to with, like, in the 3D physical world. It's beautiful that you had this experience to be called to go to Hawaii so you could really come home to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's really amazing. So the Lemurian rose, let's talk more about that. So Lemuria was historically, right? I don't understand too much of it, but it was a place that existed. Is that a connection to the Lemurian rose lineage, or tell me more about that?
Yeah. So Lemuria was an ancient civilization pre-flood, and we have so much evidence of it, in case anybody's wondering.
It's still popping, like even what's been going on with even the pyramids and all these
crazy.
Energetic portals. And
Yes.
I think we're going to really uncover so much.
Yeah.
Can't be denied.
You can no longer deny it. So Lemuria, Atlantis came after that. Ancient civilizations. Yeah.
Sure.
So a lot of New York is very Atlantis energy, very technology, right? Like kind of this go. Lemuria is deep in the feminine wisdom, and it was known to be in the Pacific Ocean, and then very widespread too. It was a huge civilization. And so while living there, understanding, for me, Hawaii was a landing home, like you're saying, a grounding into all of the years that had come before me, to understand what I was living, why I was living it, and to really become one with my experiences. Because my awakening was very out of body. So the cosmic consciousness was extremely out of body, disorienting.
Yeah.
It left me very frazzled for a long time. So my journey has been like, how do you get back into the body? How do you embody the quantum universe that we're meant to embody? So the Lemurian rose lineage, in my perspective, in my experience, and I always say that because I don't want to define it for anybody.
We're all about that here on the Sass Between. It's whatever you want it to be. We're not like,
this is how it comes to
Celeste
me.
experience.
So initially landing in Hawaii, I started to remember my lifetime in Lemuria as a non-physical being, because that civilization was, a lot of it was non-physical, and working in the temples with the priestesses, working in the temples and bringing in star knowledge and helping ground that star knowledge, which is incredible because that's, I feel, what I do now.
So cool. By the way, I'm learning this in real time too. This is like amazing. Okay.
Yeah. So that to me is the Lemurian rose lineage, is the essence of the divine feminine that came here to plant creation codes. And to me, creation codes, it's, what are you here to create? And our creation, our ripples, is the only thing that lasts, because we're just here for a blink of an eye.
Yes.
Right? So what ripples?
What are you here to plant?
Yes.
I love that.
And to plant it in alignment with the laws of the universe is my soul aspect. It's like, you can do, we know you could do anything on this earth. There's no
free will.
Free will.
We see it.
Yeah, you're allowed to do anything. But for me, working in Lemuria with the frequency of Divine Mother. It was like to be in communion with creation creator and to create in that infinite essence. So that was the Lemurian rose. The rose lineage then ventured into Atlantis, ventured into Egypt, and then that's where a lot of the Magdalene lineages come from, and a lot of the Isis lineages come from. So for me, it's been one long stream of passing down knowledge in scripture and texts, and understanding how to be the embodiment of the stars on Earth in a heart-led way.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so amazing. By the way, thank you for that perfect explanation. I was just like, oh, because sometimes it's hard for people to grasp, especially now when things are destabilizing. For many of you that are listening, and I see this on every CSOB, it always comes exactly what's supposed to. When you're curious and you follow these, I call them pings. You may have a different word for them, but breadcrumbs, or you continue to follow when you're open to connecting to your heart and finding your purpose and finding your path and why you came back, and, you know, the true meaning of life, or whatever you want to call it. It's beautiful how certain things fall into your path. I've had mine. Clearly, Hawaii was a very big,
huge
opening for you, if we could call it that. And something that I want to make a connection for the folks that are listening. So we have the word feminine. It is a now trigger word, apparently. And again, we're not really talking about gender here. Feminine energy, and you've used the word creation, right? Everything in this world is birthed. This podcast is being birthed right now, right? We were birthed at some point into our physical body. The rebirth that is happening on planet Earth right now, where we see everything breaking down to bring in a new, that is a major theme of the work that you do, is this creation and rebirth. And in the space between, we are starting to see that, but yet we're still witnessing the crumbling and the collapsing of the old energies on this planet. So talk to me about the work that you do around sort of not channeling, but bringing in that energetic, I don't know what the word is. I'm trying to think of that, but bringing in that energetic piece, which is ultimately creation and rebirth. And because I eventually want to link it to how things are being impacted now, but I think people need to kind of understand what that really means, because there is nothing without creation.
Yeah, and there's a lot to say to that. So I run a school of feminine initiatory arts, and I do work with women. So like we had said before, there's always two sides to everything. Feminine, it's feminine energy, and we all have feminine energy.
Yes.
And I think it's also very important in this day and age to understand that a woman has a different role than a man. In creation, we do carry a womb, and the womb is extremely sacred. And in all the rose lineages, the mystery schools, that's why you had the women in the temples doing certain kind of work. And then you had the masculine lineages who worked together. Yeshua, Mary, Magdalene, working side by side in sacred union. They both had the same work, grounding ascension codes, grounding Christ codes, grounding the opening of the heart, yet they had different roles. And so to be a woman and to be called by the true spiritual journey of the returning home to your inner Christ, your inner Christ love, to have a womb means that you have a certain, I always say, like a sacred duty. There's a sacred responsibility to create a certain way, whereas men have just as an important role, but a very different role. And so just to like start off there.
That's a great place to start.
Yeah. And so the initiatory school I run is like teaching women the initiatory process of the alchemical work that needs to occur for us to purify our heart, mind, and womb, like to come back to the sacred container of light that we're generally meant to embody, and then create from there. We spoke earlier about, I got to live out my dream business that I had. But that was like my little me wanting to live out an old dream that I sometimes even question, was it mine? And then when that was all done, it was like, are you ready to go on with your destiny now? Like, do you want to take on your soul mission, or do you want to still play that game?
Right.
And that's what I'm like more than anything super passionate about. It's like, of course, supporting sacred union, and we need men.
Yeah.
I'm the first one to say that.
100%.
And women have a very specific role. And it's very important that they claim the power of their womb as a sacred creative force and understand how to use it appropriately in these coming times.
Yeah.
And that's my work.
That's so beautiful. And something that's coming up for me is a few things. There's so much shame that has been encoded, for lack of a better word, into the feminine energy that exists on this planet. And we're seeing that, right? We're seeing even the word feminist, right, with such negative connotation. And, I think about the 80s and the power suit and how women thought, okay, we're just going to have to go ahead and be like a man if we want to have a seat at the table, not realizing that we should all be at the table and bringing what we are inherently God-given. But we got so far removed from this wisdom and this lineage that has existed on this planet for probably tens of hundreds, however many years, many iterations of Earth. And it's so much bigger than Earth. It's universal and metaversal and all the things. But it's funny to watch kind of how everything's cyclical, right? So we're swinging back to now women are like, and we talked about this earlier too, oh, I'm just going to just sit in receiving and everything will happen. No, that shit ain't real. So it's an interesting dichotomy because I'm 44, I'll be 45 this year. So I think this kind of end of Generation X, kind of elder millennial that's seen all of it. Kids today aren't going to even understand that was a thing. Like they would look at those ads from the 80s and be like, what the hell is that woman doing? Like, what? Because it was a revolt. And we are in revolutionary times. And when that happens, people kind of swing to the opposite side. But what I hear you saying and what I feel in my heart is that there has to be a beautiful balance. And that's what we're missing, is the balance of those energies. And what I love is that your work and your school is helping people step into the mode where they can begin to find a rooted balance of, I'm sure, their physical selves, their spiritual selves, energetic, like all of it. So that's what that's what's coming up for me as you were talking about what it is that you do.
Yeah.
And when I did the healing with you, I've been to many healers. I've done many sound baths, and I don't know where the hell I went. I was not there. I think you even made a comment. You're like, where'd you go? And I'm like, I have no damn clue. But ever since those experiences, I had 2 of them, and I will absolutely have more. I have felt a inner confidence and a knowing of a sense of inner safety. I've been on that path, and it was almost like it got crystallized for me. It was almost like this was the one thing that I needed to kind of cap it off, at least at this level, right? There's always more.
Yeah.
But thank you for that, because you were not meant to do this alone.
You can't.
You can't.
It's not built that way.
And you're even saying in your own path, connecting to these roots is what's been able
to hold me.
Right. So that you can then do what you need to do to bring your gift and service to the universe, really. I mean, it's so much bigger than just the earth.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, when we start on this path, the point is to be shot in all the places, like to be in that space in between. You literally don't know where you're standing. For so many years, I didn't feel like my feet were on this earth.
Yes.
And that's the point, to be thrown off balance. And even with the distortions, like how do you bring back the true feminine wisdom? Well, you have to see first all of its distortions. And that pendulum always has to swing until it starts to slow down. And then there's like this inner stillness. And like you're saying, that stillness happens internally. And then you just feel it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you just wake up, and after being shot in all 100 different directions, it comes, of course, with work, right? It's not like I'm just going to sit back and wait for it to come. That will never happen. I tried.
So those days when you could pray to anything, you're like, I can't do this anymore. I remember those days.
Yeah.
What was that like for you, that destabilizing time? So I think a lot of people are going through that right now.
Yeah.
People that are listening to this and watching this will connect with what you're talking about. What was that time like for you?
Yeah. I actually wrote a book called I Am Lemuria.
Oh.
And because it was so destabilizing. So my awakening happening, it was very spontaneous. From one moment to another, I watched a video that activated memories and just my vision turned on. I began to have full body experiences.
Like
I was, just from one day to the next. Like today you have a regular job. Tomorrow you cannot show up to the job because your body is shutting down. So it was very extreme. And I recognize that. I also, have a long background to that, but I feel that led me on to many years. It's funny because I actually come from a personal training, professional dancer, nutrition background, so it was very much in my body. And then it was like, you've been in your body your whole life.
Bye body.
Bye body.
Bye-bye.
For many, many years. So that must have been
wild for you.
Extremely destabilizing. Wow. And to be honest, it was initiatory. It was not easy. It was very difficult. I couldn't find answers. And that was at a time where around 2013 where, you didn't have a million videos on YouTube, everybody talking about it. So
very different now.
Yeah. Thankfully, people, if you're there now, there's no excuses. Right. There's so many resources. Now, I think there's always a hard edge because now you have to shuffle through the distortions and the false light.
There's probably more. Yeah, it's, again, I love
there's always,
it's always going from one side to another. Somewhere in the middle is where we should be. Yeah. Maybe we'll get there.
For me, it was destabilizing until we decided like we have to move to Hawaii. We knew that I had to be on that land for a while, for a few years, just to ground and reclaim some of my soul aspects and understand what was happening. And from that, then everything started to lay ground, like one step at a time, which was really nice.
And then you begin to build
the
new sense of self, rooted in a true sense of self.
Yes.
And a lot of people are going through that right now. Mine was similar yet different, right? And everybody, for folks that get what we're talking about, you kind of remember your path. And I just remember feeling like I didn't belong anywhere and that I didn't understand why it was happening to me. And I knew that I was initiating it because I was reading books and I was, joining courses and going to retreats and doing these things. And I would sit in rooms with people and just be like, I don't even know why I'm here. It was one of those things where, people, human beings as conscious beings, we want to belong to something. Mm-hmm. We're here to reconnect back to what we have forgotten. I believe that. I'm not saying that anyone else needs to believe that. But when you feel like you belong as a child, right? And then you get a little bit older and you have this group of people and you have this thing going on and maybe you're a dancer, maybe you play sports or whatever, and you're constantly connected. But when it's stripped, I felt like literally overnight it was stripped away from me. And I've been through 2 phases of this now. So I'm wondering if it sort of doesn't ever end. Sorry. There's just different levels, right, that you unlock and you uncover. But for those of you that are going through that, like that true beginning of the initiation, we see you, we hold you, and it doesn't last forever. And you will begin to be open to where this is going to lead you so you could begin to build a life of purpose and a life of grounded connection to your soul.
Yeah. And if you're feeling destabilized or like the spiritual energy is leaving you frazzled, and I had that sensation of like not belonging or wanting to go back home, like leave Earth,
Yeah. And a lot of people do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just really important to have a strong community that can hold you through those times. I don't think you can fast forward yourself out of it. I don't think there's
You can't shake your way. You can't shaman your way. You can't ayahuasca breath work your way. I mean, those things can be helpful.
Absolutely.
But you just have to
live through it
and go through it.
Yeah. And I think the best part now is that there is community spaces. It might take a while to find one, but just to be around it and to know that this too shall pass.
Yeah, it always does.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So let's talk about, I think, the feminine and masculine sort of coming together, right? Because the way that you started, and again, this is always so perfect, these conversations, talking about your husband. I'll share something personal. So with my relationship with my husband, we've been together a very long time. I feel as though I've been married to 2 or 3 different people. We're going on 23 years. We grew up together. I was so young when I met him, and he was so young. And it's one of those things where the way I like to think about it and the way that kind of resonates with me is it's an unfolding of different layers of myself. And it's very much the mirroring concept of, I was very much in my masculine energy for a very long time, and allowing him to hold the more masculine energy of this union, and trusting and allowing has been so hard for me. And what I realize is, as I lean in and allow him to care for me, and as he is finally allowed to step into that, which I was like, no, that's not going to happen for a very long time. It's so beautiful what we're unlocking in each other. And on a much larger scale, we're seeing that play out with world events too, right? How many women leaders do we have? Not many. And if we did, it wouldn't be what's going on now. And you feel that grip. But this initiation of the true rooted divine feminine, you can't stop it. It's here. And how would you speak to that in your path with the sort of, feminine, masculine, and your husband, where you guys sit now in your relationship? Because it sounds like you guys have definitely unlocked
A lot.
a lot. And that shit is hard, people. So bravo.
Yeah. So in terms of like the container of a sacred union, which I believe is a huge part of the initiatory path, you can have sacred union with the beloved, right? God's source.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely a path. You can also have it with a partner. And so for me, it's like I always knew that I wanted sacred union. Even when I was little, I was like, I'm not interested in anything else. That's just, my heart is just like, I just want to be focused,
Right.
And yeah, like you said, going through we've seen so many phases of ourselves, rebirth, and like we're nobody compared to who we were when we first met.
And you look at pictures and it's weird, right?
It's weird. Yeah. And I think that's the point. It's like you have to hold each other through those times. There's been times where he's, lost it all. And it's like, who are you? And then same thing with me, right? So how do you go through that when your family can't see you? For most of our journey, it wasn't our family that understood what was happening. Maybe not even to now, but to have that container together and hold each other through that. And like you're saying, be each other's mirror and hold each other's hand, even in the times where you're like, I don't want to hold your hand. Like, you're still going to hold your, and we're still going to do this together.
Because life is going to strip you down.
Yes.
It is going to be like, here's all your creature comforts. Here's all the things. And then you're left with the people that you choose to walk the path with.
Yeah.
It's a big choice.
It is.
And you don't choose. I mean, I was 23. I didn't know anything about this at 23. I mean, the codes were in me.
Yeah.
I just had no clue. Right. So you make the choice. I'm like, oh, he's hot. He's cool. Right. And by the way, this doesn't have to be, again, same sex partnerships. The energy's the energy. Right. We're just using our examples. It's amazing to watch how those unions of the energies, when respected and cared for and made a priority.
That's huge.
In a union of what that can do.
Keeping it sacred.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of that we have in our world, but I do believe that it's the women. I feel that the men are thirsty for this. There are so many good men. I just see it. I see it all day.
And the men are very much not open.
So ready for the women to hold their hearts, And so I feel like it's really the women that are responsible for bringing back the sacred and allowing the men to hold them in that sacredness.
Yes.
That's why I say, like, you need, and like you're saying, it's not about man and woman. It's just that alchemical union of one partner holding a certain energy and the other one holding the other energy, and holding that tension, right? Because there's a tension in sacred union. It's not perfect, and it's not easy. It's an initiation, right? If it was easy, everybody, but
That's another land. Who knows where that is? Maybe we'll go there next time.
maybe next lifetime.
Maybe we'll choose. Sounds pretty damn good right now. I'm like, yeah, but
yeah, but holding that tension in that sacred container through time and making sure to keep it the most sacred between you and your partner. I think that's one of the fundamental things that is going to revive this collective psyche that we're destined to alchemize, to purify, to resurrect, to clean up, It's like, I just mentioned it to my husband this morning. It's like, if we just focused on cleaning up our waters, the waters of our body, our hearts, our minds, you have all these like water conservationists and people yelling and waging war, clean out the water. It's like, if you could just clean up your own waters, it starts in your home. It starts in, how's the waters between you and your partner, you and your children. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And it's as is the micro, as is the macro, right? We're looking so much in the space between at our personal relationships and our relationships with our children, our relationships with our parents, right? Our relationships with everyone. And we're all one and everything is one. And so if there are a lot of challenges and people and souls are not in the space that they belong in any way, things are going to be fucked up. And then we look at the macro, right? And look at what's happening to the earth. Look at what's happening to the way we look at a global world and how everything's trying to be siphoned and keep people apart, and just this energy that is very polarizing, and we're supposed to hate each other. It's this kind of what I call this last grasp, because they know what's coming. Everyone has this inherent knowing, right? It's here, it's been here, and it's only going to get bigger and become more present and apparent in the micro, in the macro. And it's just like anything else, right? If you tell somebody, I'm going to take that away from you, they're going to hold on really, really, really tight. And you're going to be like, no, it's inevitable, right? And they're going to pull back and pull back. And that's where we're at right now. And I see that in a lot of relationships. Look at all the people that didn't make it through the last few years, and all of the breakups and all of the things that happened. It's been pretty wild.
Yeah. And also, I believe that when things break down, it's because they're not meant to proceed. And I think our human aspect is like, oh, I just want to hold on to that thing. How many people do you know that you're like, my greatest years were in high school or in college? Is like, I peaked in college. You're like, no, that's not the point. Like, peak now, now. And so, yeah, it's this essence of the magnetics are shifting. That's part of ascension. It's like the more light that we hold, our field, quite literally the electromagnetic field that you're meant to carry, will break apart the things that don't serve in your life. And so being okay with that and understand, even though it's of course super hard. Yeah. And I think another thing that I think it's really important to mention is that you need to have a lot of discernment, because yes, we are all one. Yes, we all have to walk this path on our own, and to develop, because it's a skill, to develop the discernment to understand this person right now is not good for me in my life. This situation right now is not helping me grow.
This place,
because there's been a lot of
anything around you in your field.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of women who are, this is part of the initiatory path actually, is they're holding on to these spiritual concepts from these lineages that were mainly masculine lineages, hold their purpose, But again, the masculine lineages have a very different role than the feminine. And so, yes, they come out and say, we're all one.
Right.
We're all you and I.
Yeah.
And the drug addict and the guy who's raping, we're all one.
Yeah.
So love everybody. Yes, of course, to be clear, there is a truth in that. And I'm not going to allow the person raping girls to walk into my home.
So hurting me.
Yeah, and that's of course a very extreme circumstance. But to dilute it and to say, this friend perhaps is not going down the right path and they don't feel like it's in alignment to my heart, right? So I'm not going to judge them. I think that the point of all oneness is, let's not reprimand them, right? They have their soul journey. I respect that. And this is my path, you know? And so like developing discernment in these times where there's a lot of chaos, you're right. And so what happens when it's always the duality. When there's so much chaos on the outside, what do? You create stillness within. You close your eyes, you come back into your body, and you ask for the non-chaos, for the stillness to awaken within you, because we can't rely on the external. And the point is, it's supposed to break down. And the longer that you push against that, if you say, no, please, financial system, don't break down. Please, medical system, don't break, right?
Oh my God. It's like, guys, this shit is not working.
So,
and everyone knows that, but it's scary.
It's scary.
It's very scary.
And that's fair to say, right?
It's
like
scary.
To tell somebody, and I get this all the time with my clients, I'm just trusting. I'm just like, I understand these spiritual concepts, but it's not enough to trust. It's not enough to just say, you're going to get by. That's not enough when you're having a spiritual breakdown. Yeah.
It's bypassing. And there's a lot of that goes on too.
Yeah. So to come back to, how do I build this container within me? How do I create enough stillness within me that no matter what happens on the external, it's going to be hard, but I have an inner compass and I have the right people by my side, whether that's 1 or 5, because the right people is never 1,500.
No.
And gather your people, gather your history, gather your lineages, gather the things that are most valuable to you that is going to create that inner compass, because it's inevitable, like you're saying. The timelines are set, you know, and we have to walk this path, hopefully lightly, you know, hopefully walking and not on our knees, holding on to the past.
That's so beautiful. And that is what you just said is the root of what this conversation is today, because you have such a beautiful perspective with the work that you've done and the lineages that you've reconnected, because it's not an initial connection. You've been doing it many lifetimes. And for those of you out there, this is all possible for everyone. You can do whatever you want. You can go down any path that you want. You will know in your innermost being. You know those moments when you feel this calm come over you, or this beautiful peace? You know, think about a place that you feel very safe and is very sacred to you. You can have that at any time.
It's a skill.
It's not easy, especially now. But that's how you know, because you can have those moments that kind of bubble and you're like, okay, so maybe I should just keep doing this. And for some people, it might be meditation, or it might be yoga, or it might be, you know, connecting to a certain lineage, or, you know, my mom is really into the Magdalene lineage. It's completely changed the way she feels about her life and about why she's here. And it's answered so many questions. And when you keep following that path, and every single path is so different, and you kind of pick up these amazing people along the way, like I've picked you up. I feel so grateful for you. It's just, it ignites you and keeps you going. And that's really what the initiation is. You're stepping into why you're here. Why did you come back here? And everyone can figure it out. It's all there for us.
Yeah, we just have to be willing to take the initiation. The initiation can come to you and you can literally look the other way.
Oh, of course.
You know, so the initiation is the
to your
hurdles.
point with what we were talking about before. Not ready for that.
Yeah, you have that choice. Yeah.
Well, this was one of the best conversations I've ever had. And it's so timely. And I know that this is going to help so many people, because a lot of people out there are searching. They're scared. They don't know why they feel the way that they feel. So many people are waking up, and it is destabilizing. It is scary. But I hope from this conversation, people could believe that there's a bigger purpose and that there's a bigger path and a different version that's coming of what the earth is and what we want. It's to create it.
Yeah. And I will say that the feminine path always leads you back to the wisdom of the body. So if you are feeling, no matter what the emotion it is you can feel scared or anxious or disembodied or excited, trust your body's compass in that truth. And there's many layers in the body. So understanding how to work with that is part of the feminine path, but trust that nudge. If you're feeling scared, there's a reason and you're allowed to feel that. Just trust it. Don't numb it.
Yeah.
Go into it.
Let
the body lead.
Yeah. Lean in. So how can people work with you and find you? Talk to us about what you're doing, and we'll have everything in the show notes where people can connect with you. But I highly recommend, if anyone's called to work with Celeste, that they do. You're amazing at what you do. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Thank you. So I work in private mentorship right now with women one-on-one, and it's a private mentorship container where we work deeply with the alchemical lineages and understanding this path. And the school is not yet launched. It is developing. It's coming online.
Yes, I'm so excited.
I will say that the new line, I've been working teaching quantum energy. So I work with quantum energy, which I think has been a huge support in stabilizing the new energy that's coming in. So
it's a lot that's coming in.
Yeah. And I always say that, healers, I feel like before it was healers only work with energy. I do believe that we're going back into a time just like Lemuria, like Atlantis, where everybody's in tune with energy.
Right.
And so you have to understand what that means and how to be in tune with energy, but more importantly, how to work with your energy field.
Right.
So I teach a quantum energy training. That's a lot of what I do, and also a sound immersion. So a lot of Lemurian technology. I'm calling it ascension intelligence. The new AI is in your body. It's the ancient technology that's coming back. And so I run quantum energy trainings and sound immersions. I do that in both Hawaii and here in New York City, and hopefully online soon. So yeah, if you're wanting to stabilize your field, your energy field, and strengthen that cosmic connection in a integrated way, working with energy, working with sound is the universal technology that I believe it's not an option. We have to learn how to use this technology in a healthy and sustainable way, like we did once in Mu and in Atlantis.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited for all that you are birthing. And I know that we're seeing just little drops, and I cannot wait to see what comes of this, because it's so needed. And just the way that you look, and I just want to thank you so much for being here, because the way you view the world and your perspective and your understanding of what this time means has been such a gift to me. And I know it will be such a gift to everyone that listens to this. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us in the space between today. And we know that we're all in this together. I'm going to finish this episode a little bit differently. It is destabilizing out there, but ultimately there are many, many ways to connect back to yourself. And that is where you will find peace, in the space between. See you soon. Thank you so much for joining us in the space between. We hope this conversation sparked connection for you. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who will find value. And make sure to tune into our next episode as we continue the journey into the core themes of our lives. We'll see you again in the space between.